Good afternoon from Stockholm. My name is Martina Klimes, and I'm a advisor for Water and Peace at CV, member of the Scientific Program Committee of the World Water Week, and also I'm one of the co-editors of the only water diplomacy handbook you will ever need. And this session is brought to you by the International Center for Water Cooperation, UNESCO Category 2 Center, hosted by CV, and also UNESCO, the International Hydrological Program. And I'm very honored to have here three speakers, three panelists. One of them is Kevin Smith from Tufts University, who is also one of the co-editors of this handbook. Then we have Alice Aureli, who is a chapter contributor. And then we have Abu Amani. And Abu, you are heading the International Hydrological Program at UNESCO. So we will hear more about your work later. But I think I will start with Kevin, because Kevin, we were very ambitious when we named this handbook the only water diplomacy handbook you will ever need. So what is so innovative about this handbook, Kevin?
Thanks for the question, Martina. I think we are optimistic that the handbook will serve as an accessible reference that's practical. It's really meant to support anyone who's looking to engage in negotiated resolutions to water conflicts or looking to support ongoing cooperation over water resources, trying to build those relationships. We know that we had to bring together theory and practice into this, so we brought together what we think are a great set of practitioners and academics to really try to build this, like I said, accessible reference. I think when we say that it's the only handbook you'll ever need, I think what we want to be clear about is we know it's not going to be comprehensive or final. We know that this is an area of emerging theory and practice. I think the spirit of what we mean is that we see this as a living document, a collection of strategies, tools, and case studies on water diplomacy that can continue to grow over time as we learn more, as information develops. And so to that end, we've made the book open access, which allows the authors to retain the copyright to their work. It also means that the book will be accessible to everyone for free in an electronic format. And beyond that, we hope that the licensing will allow easier revision, amendments, expansion of the handbook in the future. In addition, all of our contributors have been participating in a virtual online community. And we think by pairing this kind of online community of authors, bringing them all together, many of whom have never been in touch before, that combined with the open access, I think that's the innovation that will really keep this handbook moving forward into the future and continuing to evolve.
That's great, Kevin, and I think that is a really new approach. And now I will first go to Abu. Abu, I think many people associate UNESCO with this World Heritage List. Many people even don't know that UNESCO works with water, and you are heading the International Hydrological Water. And now we've heard that this handbook will be accessible without paywall restrictions, and that's thanks to general support from UNESCO. But can you tell us a little bit more about UNESCO's commitment to open knowledge and accessible resources?
Yeah, thank you, Martina, for the opportunity and also for the question. Why UNESCO is supporting this book to be published as open access? Because open access is at the heart of UNESCO's effort to build peace in the minds of women and men. Because, as you know, within the UNESCO Constitution, UNESCO is dedicated to maintain, increase, and diffuse knowledge. In addition to its own strategy on open access, and also in addition to the recommendation on open educational resources, UNESCO's member states adopted in 2021 a UNESCO recommendation on open science, aiming to make scientific research and knowledge accessible to everyone for the benefits of scientists themselves and also for the whole society. Open science is not only making access the knowledge, but is also to ensure that the production of the knowledge is inclusive, equitable, and sustainable. So let me give you two open knowledge platforms we have been developing and also managing. The first one is the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program Water Information Network System, which we call IHP WINS, for which we are gathering all the knowledge generated throughout the years by the program, and also all the knowledge generated by the UNESCO Water family, comprising the UNESCO National IHP Committee in the countries, comprising the UNESCO centers like your center, comprising UNESCO chairs, to bring all that knowledge in the same place so that it can be easily and freely accessible to everyone who wants to move forward the challenges of the world is facing on water management. And this is one platform. The other platform is dedicated to open learning platform. We are also putting in place a platform where we are putting all training courses related to water online to make them available to everyone who wants to train himself. So for the time being, that platform has more than 30 online training courses, and fortunately, almost 33,000 learners were able to access to that platform. And we believe that in this world of knowledge society, open access is a must.
Thank you very much, Abu. I think this is great news for everyone. Do you remember the moments when you tried to read some article, but you found out that it was behind a paintwall and you couldn't access it? So thanks to UNESCO, there will be much more knowledge openly available. And now I would like to go to Alice. Alice, you are very passionate about groundwater, and you are contributing with a chapter on groundwater to this handbook. And we often hear that groundwater is not included enough in publications like this. So please tell us, why is it important for us to increase our understanding of unseen water?
Thank you, Martina. First of all, thank you for inviting me. And thank you for organizing this talk show that is contributing to make visible the invisible resource, that is groundwater. Groundwater accounts for 90% of the total fresh water, liquid fresh water on Earth. And it's providing 50% of the water supply, so water for drinking supply, 40% of the total water for irrigation, 25% of the total water for industry. And not only that, groundwater is very often time the only source of fresh water in arid zones, in rural areas where don't have any direct service or water supply, and in many seeds. And groundwater potential is really, really great to provide society with social, economic, and environmental benefit and opportunities. Well, these groundwater resources are contained under the ground in aquifer system and yet are invisible. But these aquifer systems are very much spread around the globe. To give you an idea, most of these are transboundary aquifers, and then they have a very peculiar specificity and role to play in the geopolitics at the global level. Let me tell that the last publication of the UNESCO International Groundwater Resource Assessment Center, IGRAC, that has published the last map, the most recent map of the transboundary aquifers of the globe, has mapped 468 transboundary aquifers. So definitely you can see the relevance on the geopolitical arena. Yet, unfortunately, of these 168 transboundary aquifers, only a handful are covered by a very specific tackled agreements or arrangements that really look at the specificity and characteristics of the aquifers.
Thank you for this, Alice, and I think we are looking forward to reading your chapter and learning more about it. And Kevin, back to the handbook. If you tell us more about the authors, so now we are meeting Alice, but also I think everybody would like to know when the handbook will be out. When can we click on one link and get all these amazing chapters?
Well, thank you, Martina. Yeah, I think things are still a little bit in flux as we finalize the full list of authors, but right now we have about 90 contributors. And of those 90 contributors, I would say we have a good balance between people who would consider themselves practitioners and academics, and then there are those in between who maybe pracademics who kind of blend the two. Professionally, you'll see career diplomats, negotiators, mediators, lawyers. You'll also see civil engineers, anthropologists, game theorists, economists. So we've got a real mix of voices to bring to this conversation. I think there'll be names you recognize, but I'm also happy to say I think there will be new names that you'll see for the first time. These are voices that are either early in their career, or they are professionals who are practitioners who are just putting their words to paper for the first time in a serious way. So we're very excited about that. As far as gender equity goes, I think we're proud to say that about 40% of the contributors are women. If you look at the total number of chapters, about 60% of them are co-authored by women, and then a full 25% will be fully authored by women. As far as geographic diversity, about 25% of our contributors are coming from low and middle income countries. I think in both of these metrics, and all these metrics, we can do better in diversity and inclusion. And I think the fact that the handbook will be open access and a living document will allow us to continue to bring more voices in beyond the initial publication. I think with the way that publishing goes and the size of the handbook, it will be nearly 60 chapters. There'll be a lot of kind of copy editing and things that need to go on to finalize it. But we're hopeful that in the early part of 2024, you will be able to click a button and download some chapters. And we may be able to release some chapters sooner than that in a kind of almost ready form.
That's a very exciting news, and I know that many of those of you who are listening to us are looking forward to that. But now, Abu, when you listen about this handbook, how do you think a work like this handbook, can support UN, not only UNESCO, but UN, in working with water-related challenges? And how is UNESCO sharing this knowledge across different UN agencies?
Yeah, thank you, Martina, for the question. One of the additional reasons we really embark on this cooperation, on this handbook, to make it accessible to everyone, is because we believe that it has a wealth of knowledge, which need to be accessible to all those who are really working on the issue of addressing water challenges, particularly regarding the issue of transboundary water. We know that water will become more and more competitive in terms of use among users. So the issue of having a better water management in a peaceful way is a way forward. So this is why we believe that this handbook should be widely disseminated. First, of course, within UNESCO, we will use that as element of building capacity within our program. And also, as you know, UNESCO, we have what we call a UNESCO Water Family, comprising the National Archive Committees, the chairs, the centers, and we will be disseminating it within the UNESCO Water Family. Now, within the UN system, as you know, UNESCO is a member of the UN Water, and within the UN system, we are in charge of the UN Water Capacity Development Initiative with UNDESA. And we believe that this handbook can play also a key role in building capacity of countries who will be part of this initiative, because having a handbook on water diplomacy, looking at the way to negotiate, the way to discuss to avoid conflict in order to better manage water resources is the way forward. So definitely, we are ready to contribute to its wide dissemination. And why not also to look at dissemination across variety of international events? For example, World Water Forum. As you know, there will be the World Water Forum 10 in Bali. And there is a topic dedicated to the issue of water diplomacy, water cooperation. And I'm strongly recommending to have a session in Bali to make this handbook known.
Thank you, Abu. I think we would be very happy to bring the handbook to Bali, absolutely. And I would like to now turn to Alice. Alice, I think many of those of you listening to us or being here with us in the room know that you are a former UNESCO official. And then we have a few other retired officials contributing to the handbook. So what can you say as from your new position? How is it to share knowledge from the wealth of your career, from many, many years that you've been working with so many different actors? So how would you like to continue sharing your knowledge? And then how can you, based on your experience, make this handbook more accessible to decision makers, to the people who are really making decisions about these transboundary waters?
Well, definitely, decision makers are special animals, and to reach them is not always easy. But they depend very much on the public opinion, on civil society. And youth are demonstrating that they can really show and have their voice on that. And I think that coming back to groundwater, definitely in the UN system, we have come together in order to lift the importance of groundwater resources. I mean, surface water very soon will be under super stress, and there will be an enormous attention on member states, on countries, to look at how to better use their groundwater resources. So, for example, last year, 2022, there was a UN campaign on groundwater that culminated in the Groundwater Summit, UN Water Summit on Groundwater. That was a preparatory event for the water conference. And now there is the Water Action Agenda. And I'm very pleased to say that the last UN water meeting, the UN, together with the partners, that means association, NGOs, civil society, have established an interagency and partners expert group on groundwater. How I will continue to that? I mean, writing the book, writing a chapter on groundwater that I hope will really help making more visible this invisible resource.
Thank you very much, Alice. We have about 2 minutes left, and if you were asked to give a recommendation to anyone who will be, who is either negotiating on transboundary waters or who is like thinking about, should I read the book? What would be your quick recommendation, Kevin?
I think if you're approaching a book on water diplomacy and you're intimidated by the word diplomacy, I think we want to make sure that we are open about our use of the word diplomacy is inclusive of things that go down even to the community scale. And so if you're dealing with a water issue between communities and you see, oh, maybe this handbook isn't for me because I'm not a diplomat, I'm not someone who is in those closed sessions negotiating, I think you'll still find resources in this book. So I'd encourage you to approach it.
Thank you. And Abu, do you have any recommendations for negotiators on water resources?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a book, I had a chance to look at some of the chapters. This is really a book which is portraying the water diplomacy in a way which is understandable to all. And this is really something I realized reading some of the chapter. And it has a wealth also of case studies, and this is very important for those, for people to learn on what's going on in other regions. And definitely from my perspective, this is a book which needs to be considered also for capacity building. And I think we should find a way how to extract some of the elements of the chapter to have an accompanying document for training.
Thank you. And Alice, your final recommendation?
Kevin just said that one of the innovation in this book is that has been created a dialogue between the experts that are preparing this book. And this means that this is a live, very much live document. So we are not ending when the book will be published. And this creates knowledge, and this creates also a sort of claim for. So definitely, also, many people know that we have very little knowledge on best practice on transboundary aquifers. And this book will provide some. So I think it will attract, criticism, of course, as always, but also interest on that.
thank you all very, very
Thank
much
you.
to joining the session. I think that we are now all looking forward to reading the book. And I would like to also thank our partners for the session, UNESCO IHP and the International Center for Water Cooperation. So thank you for being with us.